Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope it is morning wherever you are, because this is Mindset in the Morning. And I am your host, Jen Sugarmeyer. And we are here live 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. But because it's YouTube, you're welcome to tune in whenever you would like. And on Mindset in the Morning, we talk about just that. It is setting the foundation within our mind so that we can go out and face the world, tackle the world. Everything all the magic happens in our mind. We can look at the glass half full and half empty, and it's up to you to decide. And the truth is that the world can just come and hit us like a tsunami, hit us like a wave. And all of a sudden we find ourselves, we're angry and we're frustrated and, we're annoyed and we're resentful and all of these things that don't make us feel good. And the truth is, if we just tapped into the 6 inches up here, our world could change 180. It's like looking at COVID. There was a lot of heavy things that were happening that year. But if we tune our mind and we start to look for what's the silver lining, what are the good things that came out of it? There actually were a lot. That doesn't negate a lot of the negative things that happened, but families got to spend more time together, and there were a lot of new inventions and jobs and things like that. So that's not what we're talking about today, but that's the power of the mind. And that's why this is Mindset in the Morning, so that we get intentional about our days. And yes, I am Jen Sugarmeyer. And if you are watching this live or today, it is Friday, which means I get to write my book. So that's what I do on the weekends. We are almost completed with the editing, and my book is coming out next month. It's called Confidence is Queen. I am so excited. We're in the final stages. So I'm looking forward to the weekend because I get to write, and that is very exciting to me. All right, let's talk about standing up for ourselves. Okay, whether you are male or female, you may have struggled with this in your life. And if you are female, there is probably more likely that you have struggled with this, because it is something that women tend to struggle with more than men. And, we're taught that, we need to be nice and accommodating, and we feel that if we're going to stand up for ourselves, that maybe we're shutting people out or we're disappointing people. So there's a lot of emotions that, especially for females, that we feel internally as we're having conversations with people, and the reasons that we don't speak up. I mean, we often are thinking about the other person. We don't want the other person to feel weird. We don't want that person to feel awkward. And so instead of having them feel that way, we just go ahead and say nothing. It's just easier that way. Or we don't want to disappoint people. Well, if they, maybe they ask you to do something and you don't have time, but you're like, if I say no, I'm going to disappoint them. So you do it. You don't stand up for yourself. You don't say, hey, I actually don't have time, or like, I don't want to. How many times have we done things that we actually don't care about? We're just doing them. I think even people that are really assertive will sometimes find themselves in situations and it's like, why did I agree to this? Have you ever found yourself saying that? Like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? I really don't want to be doing this. But that is where we have an opportunity to become more assertive. And the truth is, when we are more assertive, that directly ties into our self-esteem. We feel better about ourselves. We feel better when we stand up and we say, you know what? I actually deserve a raise. Or maybe you're getting a job and they offer you one salary and you're like, yeah, I don't think so. I know that I'm worth this much. That's another thing. Women have statistically been shown to be underpaid, okay, which is the fault of the company as well. But women, we need to start standing up for ourselves. But statistically also, We see that women don't stand up for themselves when it comes to money. We just feel weird. And you know who is also at fault here? I shouldn't say at fault. I have an opportunity because there are times where, and I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, but even still, I'm breaking out as an entrepreneur, and it's like, where do you price things? And, it's just, there's a lot of things, and it can be sensitive, and you're just like, I'm, happy to have a job. But then we wonder why women are paid less than men. We're also not standing up for ourselves. And if we did, maybe it would look a little more equal. I'm not saying that it's 100% all our fault, but we do have responsibility in all of this. So how much better would you feel if you were standing up for the money that you should be making, the time that you had in your life, the things that you were engaging your time in? So many of us are strapped for time because we're just doing everything. And I know you are a rock star. You know how I know you're a rock star? Because you're watching this. And if you are interested in improving your mind, that means that you are very deep up here. That's how I know. That's how I know. Because I was completely unaware for so many years what was even happening up here. I didn't know that I had control, or that I was able to have control over the things that were happening in my life. I never did personal development, self-help, any of that. It just wasn't part of my life at all. I just never thought about it because I was so busy. I was so busy doing all of these things. And I didn't have the assertiveness to push back some, to say, hey, I actually can't take on all of these things. I don't want to be a part of these things. I just went forward and I would do them. I'd want to prove myself at work or whatever it was. And so all of a sudden I had way too much on my plate. I'm not paying attention to myself. My self-esteem had dropped, and all I needed to do was be more assertive. Okay. I say all. There's a lot more to it, but one of the things that we really need to practice is being assertive. So, all right. So here's let's just talk through what this looks like. Okay. So first and foremost, so let's say someone approaches you with a situation or a job offer or anything. Somebody says something to you. You do not have to respond immediately. Okay. I think we've all been there. I am absolutely guilty of this. My boss will say, so how soon do you think you can get it done? And this is something that maybe I really need to think about. But I'm like, this is my boss. I want to, make sure that I'm being good, a good employee, that I make him happy, whatever. Again, going back to being people pleasers. And I'm like, tomorrow, I can get this done tomorrow. Okay. I haven't done any of the fact checking within that to see, is tomorrow even reasonable? And I've had to come back sometimes and say, you know what? Now, here's an example. So there's this company or this organization. It's called SPICE, Supporting Prosperity Impact Contribution Entrepreneurs. And they are a networking group. The dinners are by invite only. It's an amazing group. I love it. We're coming to Dallas. If you're in Dallas, hit me up. And, we have socials, we have big socials, and it's all networking. And I'm so excited to be a part of this group. And I was talking to the founder, and he said, so Jen, when do you think we can get these dinners going? And the dinners are, 30 people, and there are these masterminds, and we dig into, our business and what's going on with our business and our goals, and it's very structured. And I'm like, July. And this was like the end of May, which meant, because you really need to get things on the calendar like a month in advance. So that meant that I had like 2 weeks to turn a ship around. Okay. I don't have a place that I've figured out where anybody can go. I don't even have the anybody's yet. Like, I think I just, in my mind, I scanned my brain really quickly, and I'm like, I can do a dinner in 2 weeks. or get something out in 2 weeks. But it has taken so much more time and effort. And so you do not have to respond immediately, 100%. Take that time to say, let me get back to you. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say, like, give them the answer that they're looking for. Just say, hey. And it also shows that, you're able to think through some of these things and, work through some of these things. Now, if you've done this thing enough time and you're like, I know the answer is absolutely no, or the answer is absolutely yes, or you're certain of yourself, okay. But don't feel pressured to answer. Take that time. And then here's what I'd suggest. Play it out. Play it out. First of all, your gut is probably already telling you something. It is telling you like, hey, you don't want to do that. You get these like warning. I do not want to go out with the girls so they can gossip. This is not the group of people that I want to be hanging out with. Warning, that salary is way too low. Warning, I shouldn't be involved in that. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't say yes to this. I shouldn't say no to that. There is an internal dialogue that you already know. So just buy yourself a little bit of time. It's okay to buy time. Think about it. Play that situation out. What does it look like? If your internal radar hasn't gone off, if your gut hasn't said something, if your mind in the back of your mind, you got this voice going like, don't do it. Play the situation out and see what it looks like. Map it up to what you may or may not have time for. Maybe somebody says, hey, can you take this on? Can you do this? Whatever. So play it out. If you say yes to this, are there things that you then have to say no to? Like your sleep, your sanity, your health. I don't know. For me, spending time around the right people these days has become more and more important. And I am less likely to jump into some situations and hang out with people because I'm like, you are so negative or toxic. And maybe in a big group of people, it kind of gets masked a little bit. But I don't want these small groups or these one-on-ones or whatever with these negative people. And if it's a whole group of negative people, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I'm like, even if I have time, what are you taking from me? Energy. It's just draining. Being around negative people is draining. I could take small doses. I'd prefer you in a big crowd, but it's just draining for me. Doesn't mean I don't have a heart for you. But if I've got other things that are going on, I have to weigh these things out. So take a pause, listen to your gut, walk through the situation. What does that look like from end to end? Practice your response. Practice it. It's okay to practice. And one that comes to mind, this is silly. I can't believe I'm about to say this. So there was this gentleman and I didn't realize at first that he was interested in me. In fact, I thought he was gay. I thought he was gay. I didn't know. He was, anyway. So at some point I realized that I think he's got a crush on me. Now I am super dense. I'm super dense and I'm really awkward. Like I haven't even been on a date in a year. Like when somebody approaches me, I'm like, I'm weird. I'm super awkward. So anyway, but I had this feeling that he was interested in me. And I was like, oh my gosh. So what did I do? This is me practicing being assertive. So I played the situation out in my head and I'm like, this is a no. This is big time no. Big time no. Nice person, just not the right match for me. But super nice person. And I had practiced, if he ever was to say something for me. Now, so I was ready before he even asked me, not like, hey, let me think about this and get back to you. Because sometimes it doesn't feel like maybe you even have the time. Like if somebody's like, hey, you want to go on a date? You're like, I don't know, let me get back to you. Like, I mean, maybe absolutely you could say that, but sometimes it just feels like there's a little more. So he was like, so, what do you think about us? And I could have, I could have, in hindsight, I could have done it better. I just launched into this speech that I had been planning, and it sounded like I had been planning a speech. Like I was just ready for it. Anyway, so use some theatrics, maybe, like if you're in that situation, just, oh, here's, and then just kind of like ease yourself into it, not like go into the script that I practiced, but practice ahead of time. It absolutely helps you feel prepared for that situation. So tell them, hey, look, let me get back to you. And then practice. I really believe that I deserve more money. This is how much money I've saved my last company. This is the size of teams that I've managed. These are my, accreditations, whatever. But speak up for yourself, because if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody else is. And that's where it comes to being tied to your self-esteem. Nobody else can stand up for you. And if you're making less than what you think you are, if you're doing things that you don't want to be doing, if you are whatever, saying yes to all the things and not even feeling appreciated, probably, I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that ties to our self-esteem and it doesn't feel good. So I want you to stand up for yourself. I don't care who you are, girl, guy, purple, blue, whatever, just stand up for yourself. Take that pause, practice your speech. Be gracious about it. Be like, thank you so much for the opportunity. Maybe somebody wants you to, they've asked you to do something additional in your job. I've said that before. Thank you so much for considering me for that position. However, I'm not interested in it. That was with my last company before I left corporate, and they wanted me to take over this department, and I had no interest in it. And so I said, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you considering me. And so you're not just, no, I'm not doing that. It's you acknowledging that they thought of you, in whether or not it was selfish on their part or not, whatever, just thank them. Just, hey, thanks, like kill them with kindness, it's okay to, if, even if they're super selfish people, it's all right to say thank you. And then you say no in a nice way, And maybe it's a way that you practice. Thank you, but I have aspirations to do these. And so if this new job doesn't align with my goals, I'm out. Okay. Don't quite say it like that, but you know what I mean. And lastly, know that no is a complete sentence. Okay. You are absolutely able, and it is your right. It is your fundamental right. If you've not had a chance, you can listen to it, Defining Your Boundaries. It's on Audible, Barnes and Noble. But I talk about how no is one of your fundamental rights. It's like knowing your rights as a citizen of whatever country you're in. In the United States, we don't just allow police officers into our home to do a search without a warrant. You got to have a warrant. And it is the same thing with knowing your rights. And I talk about no being your right. So you absolutely have the right to say no. Whatever you decide, whether you stand up for yourself or not, that is a decision that you have to be comfortable with. So if you say yes and you wanted to say no, and you are there doing a job that you don't want to do, you're getting paid less than you want to get paid, you are doing something, you're hanging out with people you don't want to be hanging out with, guess whose responsibility that is? Yours, 100%. And you just have to, hey, I could have stood up for myself. I'm here because I said yes, and just learn from it. And if you don't want to do that again, stand up for yourself next time. See what it looks like if you start to say yes to everything. I mean, your plate's going to be overloaded. It just is. You have to push back. You have to see what's the energy, what are the things that are going to benefit you. And that's not a selfish thing, not at all. It's so cliche. I say it all the time. The reason you put your mask on before helping other people, yeah, it's because if you can't breathe, you can't help others. So if you go say yes to everything, you're going to be tired, you're going to be angry or upset, or just you're not going to be bringing this energetic force. Trust me, I was 100% there. 100% there. When you start to put yourself first, things change and you have more energy and you'll find you have more time. That's a whole nother conversation, but you'll find you have more time as well to help yourself, to help others. You got to put yourself first. So let's work on being a little more assertive. So however it is that you want to show up today, pick that in your mind. If you say, I want to practice being more assertive, I want to be, I want to stand up for myself and I want to elevate my self-esteem, start to visualize that and work on it for this weekend. If you're watching this live today on a Friday, but whatever day you're watching this, go practice it and then send me a message. I'm super curious on some of the changes. Let me know some of the things that you did or that worked for you that helped impact your life to help you get more assertive. Please subscribe. And if you have enjoyed this, please share with your friends. As always, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. We'll be back here on Monday. I am Jen Sugarmeyer, and I will see you